Question number 141. A generative AI engineer must create a chain for generating personalized response to user query. The chain must include the context from a vector store and generate coherent answer. What components should be the chain include? Choose two. A. Retriever for fetching relevant context from the vector store. B. A classification mode to label user inheritance. Option C, a summarization model for condensing user input. Option D, a prompt template to structure user query for the LLM. Option E, a rule-based system to hard code response. So, what is the question asked? Question asked is fetching context from vector store, which is looking like a correct. Uses the context to generate a coherent personalized. So, a retriever. Option A, a retriever required to pull the relevant context from the vector store, and option D, a prompt template structure. So what is the question asked? The question asked is the generative AI engine need to build a LangChain style pipeline that fetches the context from the vector store. Also, use that the context to generate coherent personalized response. So option A is the retriever that required to pull the relevant context from the vector store. That is the correct. Whereas option B, classification model, that only useful if the categorize inherent but not need here. Right? We are not here to categorize. If we want to categorize the intent, then we can use the classification model. Whereas option C, summarization model, unnecessary, useless input is very long. So this is also not. Option D, a prompt template. So a prompt template structure the retrieved context plus user query before sending it to LLM. This also a correct option. Where option E, rule-based system, not relevant for the generative personalized response. So correct answer is option E and option D. Question number 142. A generative AI engineer is integrating a third-party data set into a RAG application. Some documents in the data set are flagged for the containing harmful misinformation. What mitigation strategies should they use? Option A, allow flagged document but train the model to ignore them. Option B, retain flagged document but monitor their impact during the inference. Option C, use flagged document but add disclaimer to output. Option D, exclude flagged document during the pre-processing to prevent the misinformation from the entering the application. So, what is the question asked? The question asked that you are a Gen AI engineer and you are integrating a third party data set in your RAG application, and that application have some flagged content harmful, means you have flagged for the containing harmful information. So, how can you prevent for that? Misinformation, harmful information. How we can prevent for that to creating the RAG application? So allow flag document, but train the model to ignore them. This is not perfect. This is a partial perfect because you are allowing it means it is going to your RAG model, and after that you ignore. This is not correct one, right? So option A is incorrect. Option B, retain flag document but monitor their impact during the inference, means that documents have not proper, that the misinformation are there, and during the process we are doing what monitoring. So this is also not correct way. Right. Where is options? Why it is not correct? Because something which is not harmful for your data set, you are storing in your RAG and then you are monitoring. Better than you should not store such type of documents. So option B is also incorrect. Where option C, use the flag document but add disclaimer. This is also not correct, right? Because adding the disclaimer doesn't mean that you are preventive. Right. Where is option D? Exclude the flag document during the pre-process. Yes, before the processing your data set, if you will exclude that flag document, then it will not provide the misinformation. Means before entering, if misinformation you are already identified and you are not going to use that data, then ultimately your data will be pure and correct. So correct option is option D. Question number 143. A generative AI engineer is tasked to building and pipeline for retrieving technical document and answering user query. Which strategy best ensures the accurate response? Option A, combine document retrieval with the context-based prompt argumentation to include the relevant detail in the user query. Option B, rely on the generic prompt to do. Option B, rely on the generic prompt to do not include the document specific detail. Use only pre-trained embedding for the document matching. Option D, focus on the using the smallest LLM available. So, what is the question asked? The question asked is generative AI engineer, and you are building a pipeline. Right, to determine the technical document which will give the answer of the user. Option A is combine the document retrieval and context-based prompt argumenting include the retrieved user query. This is the correct option. Why? Because RAG is the best practice. This is the best practice of the RAG. You fetch the relevant document, then pass along with the user query into the LLM. That ensure the accuracy. Whereas option B, rely on the generic prompt without including the document specific detail, will fail because LLM would not have a grounding in the doc. Option C, use only pre-trained embedding for the document matching. Use just embedding are not enough. You still need to context injection into the problem. So option C is also correct. Whereas option D, focus on using its smallest LLM available. Model side doesn't guarantee accuracy because retrieval or prompt engineering is the key, right? So correct answer is option A. Question number 144. A generative AI engineer must prioritize high quality source document for training a financial RAG system. Which source should they focus on? A. News article summarization financial event. B. Use written financial blog. C. User submitted financial forum posts. Option D. A regulatory filing and official financial report. Let's evaluate. Option A, a news article summarization financial event. Informative, but may include the bias, error, or lack depth. Whereas option B is the financial block. This is the low reliable, subjective, and often opinion based, right? And option C, user submitted forum post. Very unreliable and prone to misinformation. Right. Where is option D, regularity and filling of the official financial report. These are the authoritative or and audited the gold standard financial data. So correct option is option D. Question number 145. And which temperature value setting the encourage a large language model to generate creative and varied responses? Lower the temperature to a value close to zero, increase the temperature higher value like 1 or above, disable the temperature and set the temperature exactly zero point 0.5. So, as we know that the temperature lie between 0 to 1. As the temperature is closest to zero, it is more realistic and more closer to the answer. Whereas whenever we increase the value of the temperature, it will be more creative and more varied responses. So that is the correct answer is lower the temperature and close to zero, not increase the temperature and higher value like 1 or like 1 only. So that is option B. Question number 146. A generative AI engineer need to serve a retrieval augment generation RAG application that use the foundation model API. What is the key consideration of the cost optimization? A. Enable real-time query logging for monitoring. Option B. Remove retrieval to simplify the pipeline. Option C. Use a large model to improve accuracy. Option D, batch multiple user query during the inference to reduce API calls. So what exactly question asks? The question asks you are a generative AI engineer and you need to solve the RAG, right? And the RAG use the foundation model of the API. And in the API foundation model, what is the key consideration for the cost optimization? So enable real-time query logging for the information monitoring, remove the retrievers and use large model to improve the accuracy. So option C is not correct, right? Because large model increase the cost opposite of the optimize. Okay. Where is option B, remove retrieval to simplify the pipeline. This retrieval is the core of the RAG. Removing it the huge hurt the accuracy, right? So we cannot remove the retriever. So option B and C is correct, right? Where is option D, batch multiple user query during the inference to reduce the API. That is something correct because batching reduce the number of API calls. Means lots of calls if come, then if we batch it in a single call, then it will lower your cost per request, right? So option D is correct. Whereas enable option A enable real-time query logging for the monitoring. Good for observability, but doesn't reduce the costs, right? Real time enable the real time query logging for this is not enabling doesn't impact on the cost. So option A is correct. Correct answer is batch multiple user query during the incident to reduce the equals. Option D is the correct answer. Question number 147. A generative AI engineer building a multi-stage reasoning system to assist a user into legal contract review. The system should identify potential issue, purpose, revision, and highlight key clause. What tool are the essential? Choose to a retriever to fetch relevant legal reference and precedent. Option B, a visualization tool to display highlighted class. Option C, a embedding model to sentimentally analyze the contract class. Option D, a summarization model to condense the contract text. Option D, option E, a classification model to label the class title. So what exactly question asked is? Question asked is that the identify potential issue means required retrieval for the legal reference and precedent, right? And purpose of revision supported by the retrieval and summarization and highlight key clause that supported by the classification. So, let's check options one by one. Option A, a retrieval to fetch relevant legal reference and precedent. Yes, this is the correct. Essential for the grounding in law. Right. Where the visualization tool to display the highlight class useful for UI, but not essential for reasoning pipeline. Right. So option B is also looking correct, but let it be it's for UI, not for it. So not essential for the reasoning pattern. So we can consider not consider the option B as well. Whereas option C, a semantic analysis model for the class, not relevant. Contract are not sentiment based, right? Whereas option D, a summarization model to condense the contract text. Yes. This is important to shorten long, complex clauses for review. Whereas option E, a classification model to label the class title. Yes, this helps to categorize and highlight the key class. So correct option is option A. So the correct answer is option A, D, and E. Question number 148. A generative AI engineer is designing a prompt for generating a JSON-based response from the user query about the inventory detail. Each response should include the field for the item name, stock level, and location. Which prompt should we achieve this? A. Provide information about the inventory. B. Include detail about the stock but not enforce the format. Option C. Generate JSON response including item name, stock level, and location based queries. Option D. Summarization. So, as per the means we are coming from question 1 to 47. We know very well if we will provide the JSON format with the detail, so it will more understandable for the model and model can give a proper way. like item name and stock label, as well as the where location is. Right. So correct answer is option C. Question number 149. A generative AI must prevent the hallucination in the LLM response to medical query. What is the most effective technique? Option A, lower the temperature setting during the inference. No, this doesn't impact. A ground LLM response is using the retrieval RAG pipeline connected to verified medical sources. Yes, this will work, right? And option C, train the model to diverse data set, it will also it confuse. Whereas option D, shorter prompt to limit the response complexity, this will limit the user, but it will not impact. So correct answer is option B, ground LLM response is using a RAG pipeline connected to the verified model sources. If verified model sources, then yeah, surely your answer will be accurate. Question number 150. A generative AI engineer must create a pipeline to retrieve and summarize the customer reviews. Some review contain the offensive language. How should they handle to pre-processing? Exclude all the review containing more than 10 words. That will limit the feedback. So option A is incorrect. Whereas option B, refrain offensive language for content retain. Okay, and option C, implement the filtering to detect and report offensive language before summarization. Yes, option C is the correct. Implement the filtering and detect the remove offensive language before the summarization. Whereas option B, retain offensive language for content. No, it will not work. Option D, summarization without filtering. No, option D also wrong. So correct also is option C.